enjoyed the talk. Thanks for coming.
This month, this is growth. Everybody got your name tags? Anybody have anything particular that they wanted to share, that they loved, that they wrote? Anything growth that they're thankful for? I'll share. I'm super thankful for all of my Creative Morning friends that I have met by doing this.
Yeah, Morning Boulder.
Yes, Creative Morning Boulder. Love it.
Grateful to be alive in here.
That's a good one, yeah. Yeah, amazing. Well, we are super grateful for all of you. Anybody here their first time?
Wow.
Amazing. And how many lots of timer repeat folks? Yes, yes. All right. Amazing. Good job, guys. In case you were wondering, we're on social media. Thanks to Danielle over here. Keeping us, here's all the things. Tag us, post, all, this is where you can find us. Share away. There you go.
So Creative Morning has 252 chapters. We actually were number 250 when we started. Always hold on to that. We are represented in 70 countries, have over 20,000 attendees per month, that's virtual or in person. 4,915 talks online and over 1.5 million views. So these events are being videotaped and then you can watch them later if you happen to not be able to come to one.
And we have the manifesto. This kind of sets the tone for all of our events and shines the light on our values.
Everyone is creative.
A creative life requires bravery and action, honesty and hard work. We are here to support you, celebrate with you, and encourage you to make the things you love.
We believe in the power of community. We believe in giving a damn. We believe in face-to-face connections, in learning from others, in hugs and high fives.
We bring together people who are driven by passion and purpose, confident that they will inspire one another and inspire change in neighborhoods and cities around the world.
Everyone is welcome.
And huge thank you to our team. Our amazing host, Anna, is actually in Germany. I believe she went to the Cologne Creative Mornings this morning. So shout out over there. And Lillian is up here. And here's the rest of our folks. Kevin's back there running video. Danielle's over here. And Krista couldn't be here. But she helps with our partnerships.
Sorry. Our global partner Adobe is all about helping creators grow. They know that creativity takes time, persistence, and community. And they have been our global partner for 1 year.
So they're helping Creative Mornings grow here in Boulder and in cities in 70 countries around the world. So chapters like Lisbon, Bangalore, help me if I pronounce these countries incorrectly, Chicago, Paris, Portsmouth, San Francisco, Santa Fe, Tegucigalpa. But check out that space. Virginia Beach and Hong Kong. So let's give a round of applause to Adobe.
And Adobe's Creative Apprentice Program is a game changer for emerging creatives. It offers mentorships, real-world projects, and job opportunities. Wherever you are in your journey, Adobe's cheering you on with the tools and inspiration you need. Check it out.
We will put all of these links in a follow-up email so you can find all of this. And we love our other partners, sponsors, Thank you to Junkyard for hosting us. And we have Peak State Coffee, sponsored by Eric. And how about the food? German bakery. And Lillian
And Miriam.
and Miriam is back there. And also thank you to our continuing sponsors with Ag Club Colorado, the City of Boulder Office of Arts and Culture, and our newest one, CMCI, the CU College of Communication, Media, Design, and Information at the Brain Studios. So partnering with us is a great way to reach your community if you are so inclined. There, you can sponsor us, you can ask us questions, anything you need. And
We would like to thank all our photographers. They're all back here. Raise your hands, Mr. Photographer. Thank you, and all other volunteers. We couldn't do it without you.
and our musician this morning. Where did you go? Oh, there you go. And if you want to volunteer,
There's a QR code. You can email us as well. And we will have a sign-up form in our follow-up email that we send always after those events. So feel free to sign up.
all right. So now we've started incorporating an extra 30-second pitch. So we've got a few, well, actually we have one here. There you go. Come on. Natalie, unfortunately, could not make it today because she came down with cold, so she's not here. She's under the weather, but she's an incredible author and
Thank you. Hello, I'm Georg Appitz, writing under the pen name of Arno Feldstep. And I got faced with a challenge to put 4 years, probably 30 years of work into 30 seconds. And I chose somebody else's words to do that for me. Somebody who actually read the books that I wrote, The Guardian of the Shoes, and the journal, and sent me a very lovely message. And I think that captures really well what this is about. And happy to answer questions if you want to grab me. There are a few copies of the book out in front. I read it and love it. You wrote about difficult issues in our world, particularly the pain and terrible suffering caused by greed, and the power and strength of community and caring for each other that can combat that suffering. And you were able to put those hard issues into a sweet, tender, and magical book for children. Thank you.
yeah, like you said, he'll have his books live soon. And Jules, unfortunately, is going to be here, but her car broke down on the way from Denver, so she is somewhere between here and Denver. But she will be back another month, so we'll hear from the next time. All right, our theme this month is growth. It was chosen by our Sacramento chapter in California and illustrated by Amber Rankin. It's presented by Adobe. There we go. Growth takes curiosity and courage. Because it doesn't always feel good, growth forces us to shed our old skin, to stumble, and start again. And now we have our incredible speaker, Eric Davis.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for coming. Happy to be here. I'm gonna sit because my back is a little bit out of whack right now. So I teach meditation classes, which means that I sit and do nothing. And I also say nothing, which is an interesting kind of teaching. And today I'm about to use a lot more words. And I've never really sat underneath a spinning disco ball either. So these are two pretty new ones for me. The topic of this month is growth, and I'd like to talk about the type of growth that we rarely consider, which is the type of growth we can experience when we do nothing. I've come to see growth from a very different perspective. Several years ago, I got very, very sick. I felt my life slipping away, and I laid down one night and felt my heart rate plummet, and I felt the walls sort of closing in. And I remember thinking to myself that this is it. This is how and when and where I die. And I fully let go. And something quite extraordinary happened. I saw that this person that I had been putting so much time and effort and energy into trying to grow, trying to change, trying to persevere was actually an illusion. And so I'd like to explore with you the type of growth that we can experience when we see through the illusion of being somebody pursuing something. Unfortunately, I think our seeing through the illusion isn't always so easy, in part because we live in a culture that's obsessed with growth. Grow your brand, grow your influence, grow your bank account, just keeps going. We also have developed systems in our culture that are designed and set up with the assumption that continuous growth, endless growth, is both possible and desirable. Our economic system is a perfect example of this. But growth, for the simple sake of growth, does anybody know what that is? Cancer. Yikes. I help people with investments just to own my own hypocrisy. I think in our culture too, more so than others, we worship the individual, right? Individual liberty, individual rights. But we worship the individual that overcomes all odds, that makes it to the top. And then we often internalize that myth into our own lives, where we become the hero of our own hero's journey. I must overcome, I must strive, I must get over my own obstacles. We celebrate youth, right? We dye our gray hair, we wear makeup, we squeeze our faces back into tightness to hide our aging bodies. But at what cost? It's exhausting. It also supports our delusions of reality. When I was 23, I was a professional skier. I was a really big, strong guy. I was 40 pounds heavier than I am now. It's kind of a meathead. I was super ambitious. And I felt invincible. And then I woke up one morning and I had inflammation in my joints. It started with my fingers. They got really big, painful, and swollen. And then it was my wrists, my elbows, my knees, my ankles, my toes. And within months, I went from being a professional athlete to someone too weak to do simple things around the house, like open a lid to a water bottle. My eyes turned yellow from liver damage, and it felt as if I had aged 70 years in like 12 months. And every identity that I held about myself crumbled. My body, my strength, my ambition, my competence, my athletic career, my job. I couldn't hold a job after this. And after years of fighting this reality, I finally gave up. And when I laid down to die that night, instead of my world collapsing, there was expansion. And I experienced wholeness in spite of my pain and suffering. And I realized that we are all creating identities and concepts of ourselves, and we're reinforcing them as if they're actually us. And sometimes as if it's a matter of life and death. And we're creating our own suffering when we do this because reality will inevitably challenge these definitions. And if we're too focused on growing or changing our circumstances, then we create a subtle split inside. We create a me that's here and now that's lacking or inadequate in some way. And we create this idea of a future me that'll be whole someday. And instead of meeting reality where it is, we feel a separateness. We feel disconnected. Does anybody ever feel disconnected here? Me too. It's most of us. When reality doesn't match the story of who we think we are, that split just widens. And it's the split, in my experience, not the life circumstances, that's actually the most painful part. If we're not careful, I think our behavior can default to loops and patterns and habits. And we build a sort of cocoon for ourselves. And these identities and these cocoons that we build, while they're originally intended to help us make sense of this complicated soup of a world, they start to become limitations. I was so focused on being somebody, the athlete or the one who pushed harder than everybody else, that my body was breaking down, literally destroying itself. And yet mentally, I was still gripping the idea of who I had been. And the cocoon that I wove became the very thing that was suffocating me. And as painful as it was to feel cartilage in my joints get damaged to erode, it was far more painful to have this sense that this shouldn't be happening to me. When I let everything go, when I stopped trying to fight to become a healthier version of myself or to fix my body, when I stopped trying to be or do anything at all, my experience went from tightening to softening and from struggling to surrender. And when I stepped outside of the story of me, I actually stepped outside the story of my illness. And after years of spiraling downhill as the story of me and its grip on my identity was severed, I finally had the space to heal. And not just physically heal, but heal from this feeling of chronic separateness, disconnect. And this is what I mean by effortless growth. It's growth that we feel when we surrender, when we give up. And it isn't born out of our doing. It's witnessed by our not doing. And I want to be really, really careful here because there's risk also in what I'm telling you. We can take all of these ideas and we can turn them into another project. Right? Now I'm going to figure it out. Now I'm going to become enlightened. Right? Now I'm going to realize wholeness or connectedness. That's just identity wrapping itself in a spiritual cocoon. Right? There's still a very real experience of being a human. We all have aversions and preferences and wounds that we naturally collect throughout time. We have responsibilities, we have roles we play. I am a son and I am a father. And there's nothing wrong with this because life can support these two realities. We have an in-breath in which we have a distinct feeling of being a unique person that has unique experiences that's different than everyone else's. But there's also an out-breath in which we have a feeling of connectedness, where there's a letting go of the experience of being a different, separate entity. Both are a part of the whole. And after my illness, there was a long stretch in which awareness existed as just space, sort of untethered. And over time, I witnessed myself start to build new identities, to start writing new stories of my life. I'm telling one right now, right? Now I'm an important person on stage, talking about very important things to you all. I think this is the dance, right? We contract and then we expand. We forget and then we remember. We build ourselves all the way up, and then life will give us an opportunity to let it all go again. The art is not in picking a side, it's in learning how to be someone and more than someone. It's in learning how to breathe in and breathe out. And I think pain has a way of sort of forcing us into honesty, because it shows us where we're holding on to things too tightly. It shows us where we don't want to let go. It shows us the parts of ourselves that we've already outgrown. And when we face pain, we always have a choice. We can resist it and we can sort of tighten around an identity that we're trying to protect. Or we can meet it. We can meet our reality and experience, as uncomfortable as it is, and we can surrender to it. And this is what we practice in meditation. We watch the me, this sense of me, rise up, and then we let it go again and again and again. And the letting go part doesn't mean that we don't have desire. It means that we just hold our desire lightly. And letting go doesn't mean we don't have identity. It just means we hold our identities lightly. And then when the cocoon of who we think we are starts to become a little too tight, when it gets a little claustrophobic, maybe the air is getting a little funky in there, we actually don't have to force our way out. We just have to stop building it, or stop reinforcing it, stop maintaining it. Because there are two truths here in my experience. We can grow ourselves, we can change, we can adapt, but this type of growth always takes place over time, because there's a version of me now, and there's a different version of me later. Effortless growth, or the growth that we might say frees us, it's never bound by time. It only ever happens in the present moment. And in that present moment, we can witness and experience an opening. And it's in that opening that we can see that there's nothing actually wrong with us, that there's nothing that has to be fixed, there's nothing that has to be changed. And so I suppose if you leave here today with nothing to do, then perfect. I want to thank everyone for coming. Thank you so much. Thank you to the sponsors. This is great. I wish I could come again. I will come again. I live in France, so it might be a little while before I come back, but really appreciate you all. Thanks for coming.
Does anybody have any questions?
If we are feeling like any of those things that maybe you're talking about, and it's like pretty painful, but it's like, if you have like a thing that I know you're not in the 2 days, but is there something we could like do to just sit down? Just go up in my car and just be like chill. It's like pretty painful right now. Like, ugh.
Sorry. I'm curious, like, does anything come up for you about what would feel right for you within this pain?
Every day, and I need to break. And I'm like, maybe that's why it's a little pain. So I don't know. Just like to be in some silence.
Yeah. Honestly, I don't know. Like, it's an experiment, and it's your experiment. I think the things that have helped me in my pain are being incredibly kind to myself and gentle.
Yeah.
it's really easy to get really hard on ourselves, right? And that just creates more layers, right? More pain. So, in any way you can, just be kind and gentle to yourself. And am I choosing?
Yeah. Just, I say this about crying, but I really appreciate fixing me. It's honesty. That's really been my treatment with several huge losses, which I was just like, and but I still struggle. And so it's like, it's not new, but I'm hearing it's always good to hear it from somebody. I hear it very often. It's really, really big that. But this self-compassion piece that you just mentioned, or it's like I can get very honest about what others isn't. I'm really emotional. Yes, right. And like every day in and day out, what does that look like to we live in capitalism? Like, so I'm writing a book. Cool, I'm super stoked about that, but I also want to pay bills. You know what I mean? Like, so how do we just what's that tension look like for you maybe around self-compassion and still functioning inside of the systems like in the middle aren't really set up for actual self-compassion?
Yeah, that's a good question. Very good question. For me, what I'm hearing your question is like, how can we be authentic to ourselves and see through this sort of system that we've all set up? There's a lot of those systems, and there's some incompatibility, sort of. I think we just have to start with ourselves. In my experience, it's like if we can just sit with our own being and really settle into our own self, like there's no other place to start than that. And like what comes from that, I don't know. Like that'll be your road, but I think it's hard to change things if you're not really like home in your own being.
35 years ago, I got a greeting card, a card from a good friend of mine, a graduation card from college. And the front said, "Standing still is essential to the journey." And I use that phrase all the time, ever since 1990. And it really helps.
I love that. Thank you for sharing.
I'm curious your thoughts on, let's get the example that I'm dealing with. Like I have a herniated disc and getting surgery, but my leg's not working properly. And I have had, so I'm in this, like, I haven't let myself think, oh, what if the function of my leg doesn't come back fully and I can't ever run or I can't ever, and I know I have practiced a lot of like, I think I'm really good at like accepting what is when it is. And I also won't let myself think those thoughts about, and I'm curious about your opinion on like acceptance versus stop. Like, because I also believe we create our reality. And if I already start to live into like, oh, I'm never going to be able to run again, to accept that. And just, oh yeah, I'm curious what you think.
I'm sorry to hear that. In my experience, our pain can make our world like very small. Like we can just kind of contract into the experience, the very real experience of physical pain. I had a teacher once tell me, actually he didn't tell me, it was someone else's question about their own physical pain. And his response was something like, practice hoping and wishing that no one else feels what you feel. And it took me a minute to like really take in what, like the profundity of what that meant. And as I've sort of sat with it and maybe practiced it or it's like kind of contemplated it, it really feels to me like it's a way out of the contraction of our own experience, because it makes it a little wider than you, if that makes sense. It's hard, but I feel for you.
Well, I was gonna reflect on that one, which is like I used to be an athlete and do a ton and was active, and I've had like debilitating health stuff. First, it's a slowdown, right? When you get like forced standing.
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
Yes. So,
Yeah, I had a little cold. I don't think I make people sick. What's that? So I just wanted to reflect on that because I've had like some really rough illnesses and medical stuff, and like it's been that forced slowdown, right? And so I really look at this stuff as like the teacher at this point. My life is so much better. I want to cry when I say this. Like I live so much better. And when I run into, because we're Boulder, I don't know how many you play pickleball and you're like, oh my God, I remember you, Nat. I'm not out there and I'm still working on my body, but like I don't miss that because the amount that I can do and the richness in which I live and the new perspective and skills gained, like I see other people's realities reflected back to me. They're upset when they hear about my body, but like I'm really thankful and I feel really more complete and like more alive and more myself. It's a lot.
And I guess my follow-up is like, do you keep trying? Do you keep holding on to like, right? Do I keep manifesting that I'm running it? Right? Do I still imagine myself running it?
I live in my dream state. I ski in my dreams and I run in my dreams. Yeah. If it's another way to live, I'm sorry. Yeah. But I'm happy to share.
Cool, yeah.
Can you offer one quick way to center that you would offer someone anytime or just living in a stressful state when you like force get into our body so we don't go off?
Sure. The classic way is through our breath, right? It's what's been used for thousands of years. There's a reason for that. It's happening here and now. And it's coming whether we want it to or not. Like it's an effortless thing that's just occurring within us. There are all sorts of ways we can approach work with breath. I think one of the most basic ways is to just follow your out breath if you can. And I think the beauty of like keeping it as simple and light as just your out breath is that your out breath is opening into space, right? It is sort of a letting go, the sensation of kind of surrender. And it gives us an opportunity for some of us, myself included, who like wants to do things right. And if the object is to be with my breath, it's like, I'm gonna be fucking with my breath. And like, that's too tight. And if we're just giving ourselves the space to work with our out breath, there's no direction to do anything with your in-breath. And so it's like, it's just a little bit of a lighter touch in how we might approach our breath if it's just one half of our breath.
I'm sorry, but I'm wondering if there was a physical diagnosis that you had before you started meditating and how long it took for your inflammation to go down, and does it come back if you get out of your practice?
Yeah, so a rheumatoid arthritis and lupus that eventually started to become what looked like lupus too. I suffered with it sort of active. Any autoimmune, from my understanding, is sort of like this. It's kind of like life, right? But I was sort of in this like triggered state for years, several years. I did experience like a spontaneous remission moment in this sort of death moment. And it was because I saw my part in the creation of it, in the maintenance of it. But I still have joint damage and I still get inflammation. And there are all sorts of like lifestyle things that I've come to learn help, which I think are pretty common and consistent across people with autoimmune, like diet, alcohol. I really feel inflammation, sleep, stress. There's been a lot written about a lot of the things that help, and certainly that's true for me too. But I notice when I'm not like pain, or if I'm sort of giving myself too much space and maybe eating the wrong things for too long, or if I'm not careful with managing stress, like I will get some inflammation again in my joints. So it's a forever thing. Yeah.
Thank you.